So this weekend I am attempting to visit the 10 smallest towns in Kansas. If you've watched this channel, you know I love the small towns. I'm from a small town in Ohio. Definitely want to find some of these towns I've never been to before, all very small, as you'll see in the populations. So instead of doing a countdown like you see in a lot of videos, I'm going to do this as a road trip so that if you wanted to do this road trip, you'd be able to. But we are going to finish at the smallest town in Kansas. So starting here in the northern part of Kansas, almost in Nebraska, and then we will finish up near Oklahoma by the end of the weekend. So I'm currently walking down the main street of Hollenberg, Kansas, which comes in at number 6 on the list with 20 residents. Hollenberg actually has a pretty interesting history. We're almost to Nebraska. We're pretty far north in the northern part of Kansas. And Hollenberg was near here, one of the stops on the original Pony Express. And so this town was laid out in the 1870s by a guy named Garrett Hollenberg. And he came here from Germany and had a store here, and the town was named after him and his wife, the Hollenbergs. So still, there's not a whole lot here, but there's definitely a lot of interesting history in Hollenberg, Kansas. So this is the town of Oak Hill, population 23, and just had a long conversation with one of the locals, and they said this used to be the largest city in Clay County up here, and now it's nothing more than a few houses and some old buildings, but definitely a lot of history in this area of Kansas. So this is Oak Hill. Let's walk around and check it out. Now I'm walking down the main street here of Scottsville, Kansas. This also, like Oak Hill, the last town, had 23 people, or has 23 people, but it has a much different feel. It feels like there's more going on here. There looks like some agricultural businesses and just actually some cool things in people's yards, which I'll show you. But also a couple old buildings, and but it just feels like there's more than 23 people here, but I guess that's what the official population is of Scottsville. So now, after a couple of the larger towns on the list, now we're in Cedar, Kansas, which is actually the second smallest town in Kansas with a population of 13. Interesting history here in Cedar. Used to be called Cedarville, and I don't know if because it got smaller that they call it, just dropped the ville, wasn't a ville anymore, but used to be called Cedar, and it was originally the county seat of Smith County. So obviously it was much larger. You can tell by checking it out that there probably was a lot more here. There's still a few old buildings, and there's this old depot here that says 1879 on it. But it looked like it used to be a bigger town, and it has gotten down to 13. So I'm sitting on the steps of this dilapidated old school building here in Frederick, Kansas, and this has an interesting history, this town. So there's only officially 19 people on the estimate. There's an article on the newspaper that says there's maybe 9 or 10. So really, who knows? But more interestingly is they tried to unincorporate this town. The citizens, no one wanted to run for mayor, no one wanted to be on the city council, so they tried to have a vote. The government officials sent the ballots to the wrong township, so the people that voted for unincorporation or not didn't live here, and so they voted to keep it incorporated. So the next year they tried to do it again, and the people here voted a tie, like 2-2. Of who actually voted. So it's technically still a town, I think. There's not much here. There's a few houses. There's this schoolhouse. There's an old grain elevator over there. So, but not much left for Frederick, Kansas. But there is a really pretty sunset. Guy right that lives back here told me that I could go out here and look at the jail. So we're gonna go check out the jail that's in the middle of a wheat field. So I talked to the guy that let me check out the jail. Him and his family represent half of the population of Frederick, Kansas, and told me that in 2 years that the town is going to become unincorporated. So we've gone through a lot, and I guess it's 2 more years and they'll be unincorporated officially. So glad I got to see Frederick before it was unincorporated, while it's still in the top 10 of smallest towns in Kansas. So kind of right across the railroad tracks from the main road in this part of the Kansas is Latimer here. Small town. There's not much left like most of these towns. There's this old schoolhouse that's kind of on the north side of Main Street. There's a church. There's a few houses, but not too much left. Pretty quiet little town. There's a construction project of some sort. I don't know if they're building a ramp of some sort, it looks like, and some protective dogs that are trying to make sure not too many people come and explore Latimer. So, but another small Kansas town, population 19, nice and quiet on a Sunday morning in Latimer. Okay, so here in Lone Elm, and the next 3 towns are all very close to each other, and here in the eastern part of Kansas. And so this town is different. It has a different feel than a lot of the other towns because there are a lot of abandoned and older buildings that are kind of falling down, and I'll definitely show you those. But there's also a lot of newer buildings, and a lot of there's some people around. There's people working across the street here, and you just don't see that many people in some of these towns. And there's a road here through Main Street that has, traffic coming through. So just like that guy right there. Just 8 miles down the road from Lone Elm, this is Mildred, Kansas, population 23. So once again, some of the bigger towns on our list. Windy. It's windy today. So one of the unique things about this town is that it actually has a restaurant slash convenience store slash concert hall in here, and I just found out. Ordered a sandwich, and this is what I got. So they're not joking around in Mildred with the sandwiches. I also got invited to the live dances they have every third Saturday here in Mildred. So very interesting. I'll show you the inside of this kind of store, restaurant, concert venue, and I'll have the rest of the day to try to finish this off.
Yeah, you want to.
Oh, wow.
Here's the old sign that used to be on the highway. This was in that family for 99 years.
So this used to be Charlie Brown General Store.
It's still Charlie Brown.
So I'm in the town of Bassett, Kansas, population 21, and this one is unusual because this is not like all the other towns. This is basically Bassett is on the, or it's actually included into Iola, Kansas, which is a town of a few thousand people. But originally it was founded in like 1903. But it's so close, it ended up, Iola grew out to here and is basically within Iola now. But it's still its own town. It surrounds a lake. It's called Lake Bassola, and so I'll show you that lake. And then, but there's really not much. There's a road around the lake, and then there's a park here, and there's a disc golf. I guess some disc golf action for visitors to Bassett, Kansas. But yeah, it's not an abandoned town out in the middle of nowhere like some of these other places are. Here in Penalosa, Kansas, and population 17, so definitely one of the smallest in Kansas. And it is definitely a pretty abandoned town. Hear the dogs barking off into the distance. For me, some cool old historic kind of rundown buildings to check out. There's a few houses. There's a few people I've seen drive around. But definitely not much going on in Penalosa. So I am walking down the main street here of Freeport, Kansas. Now, this used to be the smallest town in Kansas. And in 2017, the town decided to unincorporate. They voted 4-0, unanimous vote to unincorporate. And so in the last census in 2010, Freeport was the smallest town in Kansas, so I saved this for almost the end. But now it's just kind of a footnote, and obviously not the smallest town anymore, but I thought I wanted to check it out and see what used to be the smallest town. And there's not much here. It's kind of cool what is left, though. This is a pretty neat building, and I think maybe the post office and the city hall and everything is still all here, and or it used to be probably a few years ago. And there's a grain elevator and then a couple old abandoned buildings. So let's check it out and see what is left of Freeport before we head to the smallest town in Kansas, which isn't far from here. We made it to Waldron, the smallest town in Kansas, population an estimated 10, just before sunset. It's really pretty. Hopefully I can show it to you on a nice drone shot, but looking around, it's like a lot of these other towns. It's a lot of abandoned buildings, a few people living around here and kind of hanging on, but it is very eerie at sunset. I've really enjoyed this trip. I hope everyone else has. Next time you're driving down the road and you see a sign for a town you've never heard of, maybe go ahead and hop off and take the extra mile and check out a small town. So, fun stuff. Kansas has some uniquely small places, and hopefully you've enjoyed checking out some of them on this video.